Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Grogan here, and this video goes into an overview of Lesson 4, which is called Shapes and Parameters. And again, this is on code.org. This is part of the unit on JavaScript, and in this unit, as I mentioned in a prior video, it goes into animations and games. All right, there are a lot of lessons in this unit that we'll be covering towards the end of the first quarter and throughout the entirety of the second quarter. All right. And with this particular lesson with shapes and parameters, a lot of it is a continuation of some of the concepts that you learned back in lesson 3. All right. It goes a little more in depth into the two shapes that can be created using JavaScript coding, the ellipse and the rectangle. One other new code that does get introduced is the background color. All right. And this one is a very important concept that will come up throughout all of the lessons going forward. A lot of the things that you're going to be designing will have a background color to it. So it will be a type of code that you will see fairly often going forward. In the prior video, I believe I mentioned that each of these things that are new codes that get introduced here will have a link to it that will allow you to click on it and will describe the code in a little bit more detail. All right. Some of it is helpful, some of it's not so helpful, but it will give you a little bit of a better idea about that. And there's also another link that's set up there called W3 Schools, which if you click on it, it will go into things in a little bit more detail. All right. But keep in mind that this particular link, the W3 schools, go into not just JavaScript, but as you'll see here, it also goes into things like HTML and CSS, as well as some other programming languages out there. So it will be a little bit easy to get confused if you use the W3 schools, but it does help in some ways. So anyways, this particular section, or this particular lesson, the assignment is sections 2 through 8. All right. And as I mentioned before, up here on the top of the web page, you will see little circles here in diamond shaped numbers that will show you the different sections within the lesson. So really this section 1 just gives a lesson overview, the new vocabulary word that gets introduced, which I'll go over in a moment, and then new code. And these little circles here, they go to different concepts in the game lab. Right. So the vocabulary that gets introduced here is a parameter. This is a term you may have heard of before in other classes, but it's in code.org or in JavaScript coding. It's an extra piece of information passed to a function to customize it for a specific need. And in this lesson, it will go over some ways how parameters are used in JavaScript. So as I mentioned before, the assignment is sections 2 through 8. All right. I will go over section 2 with you, and I'll go through that one with you, and then I'll just briefly go over the other sections. All right. Section 2. All right. Section 2 involves two rectangle blocks, one that's blue and one that's red. All right. And these rectangle blocks have two more parameters that you use to control the size. All right. What we're going to do is that we're going to look at the code and try to figure out how the last two inputs in the rectangle blocks work. And we're going to change the numbers in the second rectangle block to make the red rectangle longer than the blue one. So I'm going to zoom out here just for a moment. You notice here on the instructions, you will have the directions, right? And it will show you what the final product should look like on the right-hand side. All right. So what we need to do is that we need to make this look like this. This here needs to look like this right here. Okay. So really what we have to do is we have to make this red rectangle block go all the way down here. All right. And the way how to do that, all right, is that we have to, if we look in the workspace, we'll see the the code that it takes to create this. All right. The first rectangle block is colored in blue. The second rectangle block, which is line 6 and 7 here, is colored in red. All right. So we have our fill color red on line 6 here. So it's, and then these are the coordinates for this red rectangle. All right. So I'm going to show the grid here. So really what we have to do is that we have to make this go all the way down to here. All right. And if you click on it with the grid, all right, it will show you what a good idea what it will look like. Okay. What we can do, all right, is if we look on line 7 of the workspace, all right, the rectangle, these are the X and Y coordinate right here. Okay. Over here, we have the width and the height. All right. So inside here, we have the coordinates, not only this for the red rectangle, but also if we go on to line 4 here on the workspace, that's the coordinates for the blue rectangle. It's in the first one here, it's X, Y, and this is width. And this last one here is height. Okay. So the width, this third one here, okay, is set to 100. And that's fine, because if you even look at the screen here, and I'll make it a little bit bigger, okay, notice that if we bring the insertion point here right up to the top left-hand corner of this rectangle, you'll notice that the Y coordinate is set at 0. I mean, it's set at 100, okay? If we move it, actually, no, I'm sorry. The X coordinate here is set at 250, but when we move it all the way over to the right-hand corner here, it's 350. So 350 minus 250 is 100. So that's why it's set to 100. So right there, we know that it's okay. The width, we need this to go all the way down here. All right. Right now, the height is set at 150. Okay. So what we need to do is that this coordinate here, this 150, all right. Now, if we, and just so you know, if we bring this insertion point right up here and then we drag it down to here, we notice that the Y coordinate here is changed by 150. Okay. Because right up here, it starts at 100. Down here, it's at 250. So it has a change of 150. So what we want to do is that we want to bring this down here. Okay. Notice that when I have the insertion point right here, it's at 350. Okay. So we want to change this 150 to 250. All right. Reset. Run. There you go. Okay. Notice what I just did there by changing this, the height here from 150 to 250. All right. What ends up happening is that this red rectangle extends all the way down here. Right? And therefore, it then matches what's over here. So that this will match up with that. Okay? And that's really all you need to do with this section. Okay? But just keep in mind that when you see these numbers like that, when you see these 4 numbers, these 4 coordinates here for any kind of rectangle, okay, first one is for the X, second one is the Y, third one is the width, the fourth one is height. All right, and with this section, I'm changing the height from 150 to 250 for the red one. All right, now once you do all that, then you're done with that section. All right. The remainder I'm going to have you do on your own, okay? But I'll just quickly mention each section between, section 3 here. What you have to do on section 3 is that you have to write code that makes the orange ellipse go behind the green one, all right? And it says also, don't worry about the exact size as long as the green ellipse is entirely inside the orange one. All right. So the order in which the code goes in is very important here. All right. So, if you find that you put in an orange fill color code, all right, and then add an ellipse after it, and you find that the green ellipse has disappeared, what you want to do is you want to change the order of the code so that way both the green ellipse and the orange ellipse show up. Right. And as long as it's the green one is entirely inside the orange one like this, it doesn't have to look exactly like this, but as long as it's entirely inside the orange one, that's fine. Section 4. All right. For section 4 on lesson 4, all right. Again, this is another the way how the order goes with the code is key here. All right. Now, what you're going to do here is that you're going to run the code to see the background color work. All right. Again, notice how in the workspace you're going to see line 3 here, background color yellow. Okay. And what they want you to do is change the background from yellow to orange. Okay. And the way how to do that is you'll see a little arrow that points downward. Just click on it. Okay. Look for orange. If you can't find it, type in the word orange. Just make sure that you type it inside this, inside the quotes. That should work. There you go. All right. But also there's a challenge here. And there's a purple square that's covered up by the background. Can you change the order of the code so you can see both the purple and blue squares? Okay. All right. So what you have to do is you have to move this this background code. You have to move it up. Okay. You should, and it should come up, but it's basically you have to move the order of the code a little bit. All right. Section 5. All right. Section 5, all right, again, deals with background code. All right. Really, all that you have to do here is just add a background color code, drag it there behind the green circle. All right. Use the background code to make the black background behind the green circle. Okay. So again, the order of how the background code goes in is very important. All right. Section 6. Section 6 and Section 8 of this lesson are very similar. All right. Basically, what you have to do here is that you'll notice that on the right-hand side of the directions, you're going to see a little sun up here, blue sky, and green grass down here. But when you run the code here, the green grass stops halfway through. All right. And if you get, what you have to do is you have to debug this program and correct the error so that the grass extends across the entire bottom. Okay. Basically, debugging is fixing errors. All right. And you only have to change one number. And you have to figure out which parameter makes your rectangle wider. If you get really stuck on this, just go to section 8 and look at the workspace there. All right. And look at the code that's inside the workspace there. All right. And you'll be able to figure it out. All right. When you get to section 8, by the way, what you have to do is you have to change the coordinates of the cloud here so that it looks like this over here. All right. But as I said, if you get stuck on section 6, just look at how it's coded in on section 8, and then you'll be able to figure it out. All right. Now, one last thing here. Section 7, all right, is a practice one. All right. Now, you could do all 3 if you want, but as long as you get one of them, one of these 3 could be any 3 that you want, or any one of these 3 that you want. That's fine, just as long as you do one. All right. This one here, okay, if you choose to do this one, all right, is a, you have to make this over here look like that. All right. To play around with the code here. Okay. Another one would be or if you want to choose this one, the missing shapes. Okay. Sorry, it's a long load time here. All right. All right. So what you have to do is you have to for this one, you're debugging the code so that the image shows up, or you could choose to do this to finish the scene here. You could be creative and finish the drawing however which way you want to do it. All right. Play around with it a little bit. Okay. like I said, you only need to do one of the three. And I would imagine some of you may be playing around more with this one. That's fine. Okay. As long as you get through at least like one part of section 7 here completed, that's fine. Okay. But as I said, make sure that you for lesson 4 that you complete sections 2 through 8. All right. And if you have any questions, you can email me or ask during class time. All right. Thank you very much.